Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Thanks for tuning in. If you could hit that like button, hit subscribe, share this out if you're super motivated. All right. So Jerome Powell had his speech at Jackson Hole. Let's take a listen to some of the highlights.
The Federal Open Market Committee's overarching focus right now is to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve and serves as the bedrock of our economy. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. The burdens of high inflation fall heaviest on those who are least able to bear them. Restoring price stability will take some time and requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance. Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth. Moreover, there will very likely be some softening of labor market conditions. While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. But a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain.
All right, so of course, this meeting is in Jackson Hole. There was another leading contender, Wichita, Kansas. They were thinking about doing the meeting there. But they decided, let's do it in Jackson Hole. It's cheaper. It's less of a vacation destination. And it doesn't look like we're just having fun and, spending taxpayer money. So there they are in Jackson Hole, the Fed chairs coming together. And if you're like me, you think, I started paying attention to economics, which I don't think people should have to pay attention to, by the way. They should be worried about running their business. But I started paying attention to economics in 2020 fairly heavily. And the reason being is I saw the stock market going up and no one working. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? And I dived deep into the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve, from a layman's perspective, you're listening to Jerome Powell speak and you're saying, these people have so much power because the stock market and stock traders are literally sitting there going, okay, did you see the way he said that? His voice inflection. He kind of went high into a higher note than he normally does. He's a little more monotone than normal, and stocks trade based off of his voice inflection. Does that sound like a free market to you? No, it does not. And so the Federal Reserve has this power. Why do they have this power? Because we have fiat money, fiat government-declared money. And when we have fiat government-declared money, everything runs on credit. So economic booms, more credit. Economic busts, less credit. And who controls the credit? The Fed. So that's why everyone looks at the Fed and goes, hey, please tell us what's going to happen. And I don't know how many times, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but they've been wrong just since I've been paying attention to it. Tons. They've been wrong so many times. Just take last year. They said inflation was going to be transitory. They were very confident it was going to be transitory. And I was looking at it, not being a genius and going, okay, supply is down. Demand is up because there's more money in the system. I guess it's transitory. I mean, it seems like inflation is going to be here to stay. And that was like a foreign concept to them. And so these geniuses, and obviously they're not dumb people, but I think they're crooked people. Why do I think they're crooked people? Oh, well, I don't know. Let's take a look at this article here from the Prospect. I'll link it in the description. Jerome Powell sold more than $1 million in stocks as the market was tanking last fall. And then there was that whole scandal about how Fed chairs were moving money from bonds into stocks in February when they knew easy money policy was coming from the Fed. Oh, no, they would never. Yeah, they freaking would. Okay. So Jerome Powell, knowing when the market's going to top, how does he know that? Because he controls credit markets. If he can control credit markets and he starts raising interest rates, he knows the stock market's going to tank. And the game, the Federal Reserve, this is how insidious I think it is. I'm a bit of a cynic. But Jerome Powell sold these stocks trying to have the appearance of not having impropriety in the Fed. He came out and said, I want people to trust the Federal Reserve. That we don't have any kind of ulterior motives, and we're not trying to line our own pocketbook. So I'm going to sell all my stock. And that was around fall of last year when the market was topping. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you so much. You're such an honest guy. Okay, so Jerome Powell speaks, right? And then the markets tank. Yeah, free market. That's what we're in, of course. It's a free market because a group of Federal Reserve chairs can change the direction of the economy. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But anyways, reading from an article here on CNBC, stocks fell after Jerome Powell's speech. Everyone's worried about his voice inflection and what he's going to say. Is he actually going to tighten? Is he going to follow through? Right? And it's literally a roll of the dice. It's did he eat his Wheaties that morning? Screwed up. All because of the fiat system. Again, they wouldn't have this power if the government wasn't in the business of money. They were just in the business of taxing, not just they issue currency and then they tax that same currency, and then they bribe people with that currency. Literally, they bribe voters with that currency. They couldn't do that if they didn't have the power of the printer. I digress. And he said in the speech, we are moving our policy stance purposely to a level that will sufficiently be restrictive to return inflation to 2%. So why is there such frothiness in the market? Because if that's true, we are in for a world of hurt. If that's true. Why are we in for a world of hurt? Because we have 8% inflation. And traditionally, you need to raise Fed funds rates above the rate of inflation. Fed funds rates are about 2.5% right now, meaning the price of credit, right, are about 2.5% right now. And you see how crappy the market is today. You know, inflation's still high, right? The outlook on economic stability is low. People just think there's another shoe dropping, right? And if the Fed were to raise rates to the point where they get inflation to 2%, we're going to go into an economic, starts with a D, ends with depression, right? Depression. Not recession, depression. And so people look at this, look at what he's saying, and they've seen him pivot before. And pivot is a political word for lying. That's what it is. Because Jerome Powell will say, we're very serious. We've gotta get inflation down to 2%. And then the political pressure of economic depression comes. You have people like senators and congressmen who are going to the Fed and like, stop this pain. And then Jerome Powell pivots away from their goal of 2% inflation, and maybe you will say, no, you know what, it's 5% inflation. But if this is actually true, people could make investments based off of him trying to get to 2% inflation. But the $1 million, or I would say multi-trillion-dollar really question is he telling the truth? Does he have the guts to get us back down to 2% inflation? Because he has to raise interest rates up to 8, 10, maybe 15%, like we did in the 70s. Oh, and there's this big, huge elephant in the room, and that elephant is $30 trillion in debt. $30 trillion in debt. And why is that an elephant in the room? Great question. Well, if he raises interest rates, that also raises what the government is paying on the debt. And the whole all of the tax receipts in the world, all the taxes we pay wouldn't cover just the interest on the debt if we were up to 15%. 15%. So that's why people look at what he's saying and go, how are we doing this? I don't see this happening. I see pain, massive pain, and I see you pivoting. And again, this shouldn't exist in a free market. We are not in a free market. And I like to beat this drum because there's two sides of the aisle that are going, well, he's going to tighten, or he's not going to tighten. He's going to pivot, and we're going to have runaway inflation. The Federal Reserve shouldn't exist. The world we live in today. But the question should be, why does the federal government have the power to do this kind of stuff? And the Federal Reserve is not the government. But the federal government has the power to print money, which causes inflation, and then the Fed has to react, and the Fed monetizes a lot of that debt, blah, 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 blah. My point being is this whole system where people are looking at Jerome Powell's diet and going, is he going to actually follow through? Does he have the intestinal fortitude to get us back down to 2%? Is not a free market. It's 100% reliant on the Federal Reserve's honesty. And they're not honest people. There's all kinds of crazy motives out there. And usually, they're all interested in, guess what? Themselves. Just like everybody else. I'm not saying I'm any special person. I'm worried about myself and my family. But if I had the power to change directions of the market, and then I was also worried about my family and myself, I might do some nefarious things. So should a person have that power? The answer is no. All right? The answer is no. And so when people look at this and they're new to markets and they're new to like this economic thing and they're going, this seems a little off. Your intuition and your gut is correct. It's ridiculous is what it is. All right, let me know how much pain you think Jerome Powell's ready to stomach. Because this speech yesterday, everyone's convinced that he's ready to inflict, really, a lot of pain on the markets. And I think the pivot point is how much debt we have as a government. He's super happy to inflict pain on individuals in the economy. But what about the federal government? When the federal government has to take out more debt to pay on the debt, again, more debt to pay on the debt, that is a debt spiral that they'll never get out of. Hence why I don't think you'll ever be able to get us back down to 2%. We'll settle around like 5% advertised by the government, and that'll be the new Fed inflation target, in my humble opinion. All right, let me know what you guys think. See you guys in the next one. Peace.